For many years, I lived with a dull and persistent pain in my neck. It wasn't unbearable, but it was always there. Sometimes stronger, sometimes softer, but never completely absent. A constant reminder that something inside me was hardening, as if the years had not only wrinkled my skin, but also tightened my muscles one by one. I tried everything. First with the painkillers prescribed by the doctor. They worked, yes, but only for a few hours. Then came physical therapy, massage sessions, exercises with elastic bands, dry heat at night. I even tried changing my pillow 3 times, but nothing made a real difference. And every day upon waking, there was that pain again, just when turning my head to the left. I began to think it was a natural part of aging. It's normal at your age, some said, but something inside me refused to accept that feeling pain was part of living. And then, something curious happened. In a casual conversation, a friend told me about an oil her mother used, a natural, gentle remedy she applied every morning at the base of her neck. It promised no miracles, just relief. I had nothing to lose, so I tried it. A few drops every morning, calmly, no rush. And what happened in the following 7 days left me completely surprised. Today I want to tell you that story, because sometimes the solution is not in what is complex or expensive. Sometimes it's in what we ignore for seeming too simple. And that oil, forgotten by many, was the key that gave me back the freedom to move without fear. Do you also suffer from neck or back pain? How old are you, and where are you listening from? The story of the pain, how it all began. I remember clearly the day it all started. It wasn't a fall or an accident. There was no dramatic moment. I simply woke up one morning with stiffness in my neck, as if I had slept in a bad position. I thought it would go away with some heat and movement, but it didn't. 2 days passed, then a week. The pain not only stayed but began to spread to the shoulders and upper back. At first, I blamed the pillow or the dining chair where I usually spend hours reading or writing. I changed chairs, tried an ergonomic cushion, even placed a rolled towel behind my neck. Nothing seemed to truly relieve it. I went to the doctor. They said it was muscle tension, very common at my age. They prescribed pain pills and a muscle relaxant. I took them diligently. The pain decreased for a few hours but always returned. Then came the physical therapy sessions. They helped, yes, but the effect was as brief as the time between sessions. The pain became part of my routine. I woke up with it. It accompanied me through breakfast. It intensified if I spent too long sitting. I couldn't turn my head naturally or look back without feeling that uncomfortable tug. I stopped driving for a while and began avoiding certain movements for fear of worsening it. And then frustration came. That feeling of doing everything right but getting no results. I took care of myself, ate well, tried to move, and yet I had to live with this constant discomfort. I asked myself many times, is this pain here to stay? Will I have to learn to live with it like getting used to cold or city noise? And the answer, at that moment, seemed to be yes. I thought I would have to live like that forever. The effects of pain in daily life, the neck. Such a small part, right? You don't pay much attention to it until it stops working as it should. Then you realize how many things depend on it. Turning your head, reading, driving, sleeping, glancing sideways at someone talking to you. Small gestures, so ordinary that you only miss when they become impossible. For me, the hardest was driving. I've always been independent. I like running my own errands, visiting friends, going out for coffee in the morning. But with that pain, turning my head to check the mirrors was torture. I didn't feel safe, so I stopped going out. First by car, then on foot. And without realizing it, I stayed home more than I wanted. I also started sleeping poorly. I went to bed with discomfort that never disappeared. I woke up in the middle of the night because my neck tightened with any movement. I tried to find a comfortable position, but there was always pressure, discomfort, a kind of knot that wouldn't untie. Nights passed, and rest became a luxury my body no longer knew. And when you don't sleep well, everything looks grayer. I lost patience. I got irritated easily, even with those I love most. I didn't feel like talking. Noisy things, long visits, ringing phones bothered me. Discomfort became a filter through which I viewed the world. I started saying no, that I couldn't go, another day would be better. And little by little, I withdrew. I stopped attending meetings, walking with neighbors, accepting invitations. The pain made me invisible, and it also made me invisible to others. Because when you isolate yourself, the world quickly goes on without you. And that's when I understood something I had never thought about before. No one imagines how much something as small as the neck can affect you, until you suffer it. It's not just a body part. It's a hinge between the head and the heart. And when that hinge sticks, everything in you becomes harder. My search for natural solutions. After months, or maybe years, of trying pills, massages, and exercises without much success, I began to feel a kind of fatigue. Not just the pain, but the tiredness of trying things that didn't work. It bothered me to depend on medications every day. I had read side effects on the boxes, heard the doctor's warnings: drowsiness, low blood pressure, digestive problems. I started thinking maybe I was treating the symptom without addressing the root cause. Maybe I was covering the pain instead of listening to what my body was trying to tell me. That's how I decided to pause, to stop adding pointless things and start from a different place, a simpler place, more natural. I began reading, searching for information on my own, not on strange websites or magical promises, but in testimonies from people like me, people who had felt the same and improved without filling their bodies with chemicals. It was like opening a door to a world that had always been there, but I had never looked at closely. I also talked to friends. One recommended a wheat pillow, another told me about gentle stretches with a rubber ball. But there was one conversation that changed something in me. A childhood friend, whom I talked to occasionally, told me a story about her mother. She said every morning, her mother, a woman of wise hands and old customs, applied a few drops of a natural oil to her neck. She did it calmly, as part of a little ritual. She said it was her way of starting the day without stiffness or pain. That oil had accompanied her for years, like a secret inherited from her own grandmothers. At first, I took it as just another story. But that night, going to bed, the image of that woman applying the oil stayed in my mind. There was something in that scene, something warm, calm, simple, something I couldn't ignore. And then I said to myself, why not try? What could I lose? If something so natural had worked for generations, maybe it wasn't as absurd as it seemed. What essential oil is, and why I decided to try it. The next day, with that conversation still in my head, I went to a small natural shop in the neighborhood. I didn't go with high expectations. I just wanted to see, ask, listen. The woman who attended me was one of those people who don't rush you, who look you in the eye when you speak and explain patiently, as if they know you are looking for more than a product. I told her about my neck pain, my age, how I had tried almost everything. She told me about several essential oils. She explained that, unlike regular oils, these are extracted directly from plants, concentrating their aroma, energy, and healing properties. They didn't have magic, she said, but they had many generations of history. She especially recommended 4: lavender, eucalyptus, rosemary, and peppermint, each with a distinct characteristic. Lavender, for example, is known for its relaxing effects, ideal for calming tension and helping sleep better. Eucalyptus helps reduce inflammation and improve circulation. Rosemary stimulates muscles, activating them. And peppermint. That one has an almost immediate freshness, like a caress that soothes and awakens at the same time. She suggested I start with just one, mixed with a carrier oil like almond or coconut to avoid irritation. She gave clear instructions: a few drops in the palm, gently rub and apply in circular motions right where the pain appears. I left the shop with a small bottle of lavender oil, feeling a bit skeptical but also curious. It was a quiet curiosity, without urgency, as if For the first time in a long time, I was willing to try something without expecting immediate results. Something inside me already sensed that the important thing wasn't just what the oil could do, but the gesture of caring for myself, of returning to me. That night, before sleeping, I looked at it on the nightstand. So simple, so small. I rubbed a few drops on my neck with slow movements, just as I was told, and I thought, what do I have to lose? And it was then, unknowingly, that the change began. How I applied it, my morning routine. From the first day, I decided not to do it hurriedly. If there was one thing I had learned by then, it was that the body responds better when treated with patience, presence, and care. As soon as I got up, even before making the bed or preparing breakfast, I took a few minutes just for myself. I turned on a dim light in the room, opened the window to let some fresh air in, and sat on the edge of the bed, the little bottle of oil in hand. I carefully unscrewed the cap, as if that small gesture already marked the start of something different. I poured a few drops into my palm, no more than 3 or 4, and rubbed them between my hands to warm the oil with my skin's heat. The aroma began to release immediately. It was soft, enveloping, almost like a signal for everything inside to start calming down. Then, with slow circular motions, I began massaging the base of my neck, sometimes using just my fingers, other times my whole palm. It wasn't about force, but attention. I felt how the muscles, tense from the night, started to loosen little by little. It was as if my neck could finally let go of that invisible weight it had been carrying for so long. I focused on my breathing. I inhaled deeply through my nose, letting the scent reach my chest. I held the air for a few seconds, then exhaled slowly. I didn't do this out of technique or habit, but because my body asked for it. Breathing like that helped me center myself, to be present in that moment and not think about everything I had to do afterward. Sometimes, while massaging, I closed my eyes. I thought about simple things, the warmth of the sun on my face, the sound of birds outside, how much one forgets to be thankful when healthy. That moment, that little ritual, became mine, as if every morning was an opportunity to start better than the day before. It wasn't just an oil, it was a daily reminder that I deserve to feel good, that self-care is not vanity or luxury, it's a form of respect toward oneself. And that respect, in my case, began each day with a few drops and a few minutes of silent attention. What I felt the first day, and the following ones. The first day I didn't expect too much. I had gone through too many disappointments to get excited suddenly. But still, when I finished applying the oil that morning, something inside me felt different. It wasn't a miraculous relief or sudden change. It was something more subtle. I felt warmth, a very localized warmth, as if my neck loosened just a bit. It wasn't just the oil's temperature, it was an internal sensation, like the tension yielded a millimeter. I stayed still for a few seconds, just observing that feeling. It wasn't much, but it was more than I had felt in weeks. The next day, I repeated the same ritual. Drops, massage, breathing. That second day was similar, but with one difference. The relief lasted longer. I noticed I could tilt my head slightly to one side without triggering that annoying tug. Something was moving, literally and symbolically. By the third day, the improvement was evident. Not spectacular, but real. I surprised myself turning my neck more freely, as if the muscles understood they no longer needed to be so tense. It was the first time in a long time I could look over my shoulder without holding my breath. I kept at it every morning with the same consistency. I didn't change anything else, didn't take pills, didn't do new exercises. Just that moment, that oil, and those minutes of mindful attention. And on the 7th day, something curious happened. I was in the kitchen preparing coffee, and without thinking, I turned my head to look at the wall clock. I did it so naturally, so quickly, that I didn't realize immediately. It was when I looked forward again that I stopped. There was no pain, none. Not a twinge, not a tug, not even a slight discomfort. I stayed still, as if needing to confirm it really happened. Then I repeated it. I turned my head again. Nothing. It was as if someone had switched off that pain spotlight that had accompanied me for so long. I sat down with the coffee in my hands, saying nothing. I smiled silently. It wasn't a magic cure. It was the body saying thank you. It was proof that sometimes the natural can heal, if given the time, calm, and respect it deserves. What experts say and why it works. After that revealing week, I felt the need to better understand what was happening in my body. Not because I distrusted the result, but because I wanted to know why something so simple achieved what many treatments could not. So I started reading, but this time with different eyes. I discovered essential oils are not a modern invention or a passing fad. They have been used for centuries in different cultures, in Egypt, India, Greece. Before pharmacies existed, plants, flowers, and leaves were used to relieve the body and calm the mind. And although for a time they were seen as part of alternative medicine, today many studies are giving them the recognition they deserve. It's not magic, it's science and ancestral wisdom. When we apply essential oil to the skin, it gradually penetrates thanks to its molecular structure. You don't need huge amounts. Just a few drops are enough for the active components to cross the superficial layers and reach the deeper tissue where muscle tension lies. Many of these oils, like lavender, rosemary, eucalyptus, or peppermint, have natural anti-inflammatory properties. They help improve circulation, reduce stiffness, relax contracted muscles. Some research has even shown that lavender oil, for example, lowers cortisol levels, the stress hormone. And when you feel less stressed, the body responds by releasing some of that accumulated tension. A study on older adults showed those using essential oils with gentle massages for at least a week reported significant improvements in mobility, sleep, and mood. Not due to placebo, but because of the combined effect of the substance and the act of self-care. And it's not only about what the oil contains, but how it is used. Applying it mindfully, dedicating a few minutes a day, breathing its aroma, all that matters too. You can't separate body from mind or muscle from emotion. I then understood that little bottle was not just a remedy. It was a way to reconnect with my body, to help it without harming it, to heal it without forcing it. And the more I read, the more convinced I was that natural things, when applied with consistency and respect, can have deep and lasting effects. Other unexpected benefits. The curious thing about all this is that I started using the oil with only one intention: to relieve neck pain. But what happened was deeper. Because when the body begins to loosen, something inside also frees itself. As if with the pain gone, other things, more subtle, more invisible, also found space to change. One of the first things I noticed was sleep. Without the constant discomfort at the nape, I could rest better. I no longer woke up in the middle of the night trying to find a comfortable position. I slept through without startles, and upon waking, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time: lightness. That improvement in sleep brought less stress during the day. Everything seemed to flow more calmly. Things that used to bother me stopped seeming so important. It's not that my life changed completely, but I started living it differently. I felt less reactive, more present, more willing to listen, observe, and breathe deeply. And I also found something unexpected: more energy in the mornings. I began waking up eager, without that usual heaviness. The oil ritual, which at first was a therapeutic routine, became a kind of emotional anchor. It reminded me I was doing something good for myself, that I was choosing to care for myself consistently and lovingly. It was one of those days, walking through the neighborhood, that I realized how far I had come. I had left without thinking twice. I walked with a straight back, relaxed shoulders, and a loose neck. I stopped for a moment, looked up at the sky, one of those clear, cloudless skies we sometimes take for granted, and felt a gratitude so deep I had to stand still for a while. The pain was gone. I wanted to go out, walk, and look at the sky again. That, for me, was the real gift. The oil relieved my neck, yes, but it also gave me back the joy of simple things. And that joy, believe me, you can't get in any pharmacy. Warnings, care, and what you should know before using it. After sharing all this, I feel I also have the responsibility to share something equally important. Not everything natural is harmless, and not everything that works for one person will work the same for another. So if you are thinking about trying essential oils to relieve pain, whether in the neck or anywhere else, there are some things you should keep in mind. First, not all oils are suitable for all bodies. Everyone reacts differently. Some skins are more sensitive, others more resistant. Some people have allergies they don't even know about. So the safest thing is to test first on a small skin area, like the forearm. Apply a few diluted drops and wait at least 24 hours. If there's no itching, redness, or irritation, it can be used more confidently. Second, and this is fundamental, you should never apply essential oils directly on the skin without diluting them. These oils are very concentrated, and although they come from plants, their potency is real. They should always be mixed with a carrier oil, like coconut, almond, jojoba, or even olive oil. Just a few drops of essential oil in a teaspoon of carrier oil. This not only protects the skin, but allows the massage too. Be gentler and more effective. Also, be careful with the oils you buy. Not all products that say they are natural really are. Some have added fragrances, alcohols, or preservatives that can harm the skin. It's best to look for trusted brands, pure products, preferably with certifications or good reviews from other users. And finally, although this should be first, if you have any serious medical condition, very sensitive skin, are on medication, or just have doubts, it's best to consult your trusted doctor. Not all doctors are familiar with essential oils, but at least they can tell you if there's any risk in your particular case. Because taking care of yourself is also that. Being informed, listening to your body, and acting with respect. I'm not telling you to abandon everything else, or that this oil is a universal cure. I'm just sharing what helped me, humbly, and hoping that if you do it well, it might help you too. If there's one thing I've learned over the years, it's that many times the answers we seek aren't where we usually look. We're so used to seeking big, fast, immediate solutions that we forget the value of the simple, the everyday, what makes no noise but transforms. For a long time I thought only a strong pill, an external intervention, or something complicated could relieve the pain I felt. But it was a small bottle, almost insignificant, that gave me back movement, rest, and above all, hope. Sometimes what we most need isn't in a pill, but in a small bottle forgotten in a drawer. I don't want you to think this is a magic formula. It's not. I didn't heal in a single day, nor was it a spectacular change. But it was a real change. And that, for those of us who have lived with constant pain, means a lot. It means regaining control. It means trusting again that one can still feel good, that one can still improve, even if little by little. That's why I speak to you today. Because I know maybe you're going through something similar. That discomfort that isn't visible from the outside, but accompanies you all day. That feeling that you've tried everything and nothing works. That idea that pain is part of aging and there's nothing to do. But don't give up. Because there's always something that can help. Sometimes it's a small gesture, a simple routine, a shared piece of advice. And other times, it's just giving yourself permission to try one more time. To believe you deserve to be better. That your body, even now, can respond if you listen and care for it. Today I still use that oil, not every day, not as a remedy, but as a ritual. A silent reminder that not all is lost, that you can always start again. And if my story has touched you somehow, made you think or want to try, then it was worth telling. Thank you for being there, for listening to me till the end. Take care. Treat yourself kindly. And remember, sometimes the most powerful is not the most complex, but the simplest.